Okay, welcome. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Haller, President and CEO of the International Franchise Association. I want to welcome everybody to Dallas in this beautiful building. How about this place down here in a really unique part of the city that I know the mayor is very focused on revitalizing this part of the city. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We are here in the Big D and in the state of Texas as part of the IFA's Open for Opportunity Roadshow. We started this campaign really at the end of 2021 as a way to be more proactive and really telling the franchise business model's real story. And that story, it's reflected in a lot of data and research that we did with in a study with Oxford Economics called The Value of Franchising. And we'll get into some of those statistics as part of the program today and over a series of events we're having over the next 2 days. But the real story of franchising is indeed like the stories of the people and the stories of brands, people who've started brands, and we've got some of them here today, and the stories of franchisees, who are the true local owners and operators of such a diverse collection of franchise businesses. And diverse in so many different ways, diverse in types of concept and sectors, diverse in who owns them from different backgrounds. And that's really what Open for Opportunity and franchising is all about, is telling the franchise story and telling it in deep and meaningful ways, and making sure that we are also telling it, as I like to say, outside the community, making sure that members of the media are part of this, making sure that elected officials at all levels, federal elected officials, like last night we had with Representative Kate Granger, who represents Fort Worth. We'll have the mayor of Irving and the mayor of Fort Worth and some city council members with us at events later today and tomorrow. And then getting these stories out online and building other allies and force multipliers, as I call them, for franchising in academia and other business and like-minded organizations. Our friends from the hotel industry are here today. People don't often think of franchising and how diverse it is, and that's really what OFO is all about. So we'll get into the program here in a minute, but why don't we start and just, if everybody could go around the table and do a brief introduction. I think we have questions for everybody to get a little bit more of your story. And why don't we start right here to my right with Shane?
Hi there. I'm Shane Evans. Thank you, Matt. I knew I would miss that. I'm Shane Evans. I'm the co-founder and principal of Massage Heights, a San Antonio-based company that does membership-based massage and skincare. We have about 120 units. Most of them are in Texas.
Hi, I'm Sean Glenn. I'm with Fast Signs. We have 3 locations here in the Dallas area, and my husband and I both have corporate backgrounds with the Fast Signs franchisor, so kind of made sense for us to own our own franchise.
Christopher Stewart, one of the co-founders and COO of Bloom & Blinds. We're a franchise operation doing window covering, blind sales, installation, and repair. We do everything from shutters to shades, motorization, specialty. Started as a operator and franchised into, became a franchisor after 17 years in operation as a retail side. So learning the franchise industry and able to share it with other families and keep ours together was pretty integral. I've been blessed by the franchise community, so glad to be here. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Monica Fide. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of BizCom Associates. We are a public relations and marketing agency that supports the franchise community, some brands here at this table today. And we help increase brand awareness and help them expand across the country and around the world. But I like to say that on a daily basis, we promote the American dream through franchising, which is my favorite part of this industry.
Hi everyone, I am Tana Hicks and I serve as the Senior Director of the Labor Market Intelligence Center at Dallas College. And basically my team makes sure that we are informing Dallas College as a whole about those good paying jobs so that our students can get into those.
Good morning. My name is Jason Reeder. I'm the Vice President of American Hotel and Lodging Association. I serve on the State and Local Government Affairs team. I handle all the western states, but the American Hotel and Lodging Association represents all segments of the hotel industry, from franchisors and franchisees, from the brands to management companies to REITs to small bed and breakfasts. And it's just a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Justin Cunningham. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Innovation and Business Strategy at Dallas College. With Tana help, I train a lot of our students for corporate jobs. We also look after corporate partnerships, apprenticeships, and then also provide resources for small businesses as well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amber Trybig. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Crust Pizza Company. Very excited to be here. We have 22 locations with 9 in the works, so growing significantly, and we are based in the Texas, Louisiana area.
Good morning. My name is Michael Landry, Vice President of Franchising for Rent-A-Center. Rent-A-Center is a publicly traded corporation based out of Plano, Texas, under the Upbound parent company. We operate 2,200 furniture, appliance, electronic stores across the U.S. and Mexico, with 440 franchised, and the remaining are corporate stores. So a heavily corporate operation, but with a robust franchise subsidiary. I appreciate you having us here this morning.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Rose, and I'm the CEO of Stellar Service Brands here in Dallas. We are a platform that have 4 brands: the Restoration One, Blue Frog Plumbing and Drain, the Driveway Company, and Soft Rock. I grew up through corporate, but I'm actually the product of a family business. So my heart is with family businesses, small businesses, and so this is really exciting to be here. So nice to meet everyone.
All right, thanks everybody. So I'll just start with a little bit of an overview of the franchise economy. Just about 2 weeks ago now, we released our 2023 economic forecast, and we are going to see continued moderate growth in 2023. Of course, following the post-pandemic boom of growth, recovering strongly in 2022, that recovery will continue in 2023, and will actually close the gap of every business and job that was lost during that downward trend. In 2023, we expect nearly 2% growth in terms of franchise establishments, adding about 15,000 new franchise locations to the U.S. economy. That'll raise the total number of franchises in the U.S. to 805,000 units. That will also equate to about a 3% growth rate in terms of employment. So we'll add 254,000 new jobs in the franchise economy, rising the number of jobs in this sector to 8.7 million direct jobs. In terms of where we see that growth coming from, I think a lot of it's reflected from some of the brands in this room. Service-based industries are going to be the #1 driver of that growth, along with quick service restaurants. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, Texas is the #1 state for franchise growth. Most of the growth that we're seeing in terms of the top states is in the southeast and south central part of the country. Specifically in Texas, franchise establishments will add about 2,500 new units, 3.3% rate of growth compared to 1.9% at the national level, about 37,000 new jobs right here in Texas, and the total economic output of those franchise businesses here in Texas will increase about 6.1%. So as I said in a video I recorded yesterday, everything is bigger in Texas, including franchise growth. And maybe to kick off the conversation, I'll turn it over to Shane. I just want to ask you, Shane, I have the privilege of serving with you as a member of the IFA Board of Directors, and appreciate everything that you've done for franchising. You worked for years before you founded Massage Heights in franchising. Can you just talk about how your experience in the industry inspired you to start your own franchise brand, and what starting that here in Texas has meant to the growth of your company.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be on the IFA board. Actually, I've been on committees for many, many years, and so to finally be on the board is super exciting. And I love giving back to franchising in this way. So thank you. So actually, I was not in franchising prior to starting Massage Heights. I was in real estate. I was in medical sales. And I started my business, Massage Heights, because I had lower back pains. I went to a spa that I paid way too much for and didn't get a great service, and I thought, there's got to be a better way that people can get regular therapeutic massage affordably, conveniently, and safely. And 4 months after that bad experience, I started my very first location. Franchising became a vehicle for growth because, well, we knew we had something special, and people were walking in the door saying, oh my gosh, I want to get involved. How can I, can we invest? What are you doing? And we started exploring franchising. And it was a couple of years later with members from that first establishment and family members that loved what we were doing that became our very first franchisees. But I love it. I love the brand, obviously, and what we do. It's a healthy service. We're giving back to neighborhoods in a good way. But my favorite thing about franchising is literally helping people achieve the American dream. And I think you said that earlier. And that's what we're doing. It's wonderful to look. Hey, it's hard too, right? As franchisors, I go to sleep every night saying, did we do everything that we possibly could do to make this successful and help our franchisees be their best? And it's so great to see the successes and those people coming in and realizing their why they're doing it, and to actually see them do it and employ many people in their communities that also give back. So that was really, I wanted to grow and provide these services faster to many more communities, and franchising made the most sense to be able to do that in a smart way.
Thanks, Shane. Sean, as somebody who started in corporate at a franchisor and now has several locations at the Fast Sign system, and thank you to the Fast Sign system for these lovely signs here. Just talk about why moving out of the corporate world into, taking on the risk, so to speak, with owning one and then now several in the Fast Sign system.
Yes.
What that journey was like.
Okay, thank you. We, as I alluded to earlier, my husband and I started out at the franchisor in the corporate world. He was in operations for about 17 years, and I was in the marketing department for about 3 before I had my children. And it got to the point where we knew we wanted not an 8-to-5 job, and we wanted to do something better. And we knew that with our franchisor Fast Signs, that we knew they would have our back. We knew that we would be set up for success if we implemented what they had in place. So in 2011, we bought our first location. It was the store closest to the corporate office in Carrollton, Texas, and grew that one. Actually, we tripled sales within the first year and a half. And in 2015, we bought 3 more locations. I thought we were crazy at the time, but all we had to do was implement what our franchisor, said that it would work. It would, with our operations and marketing background, we had really no questions. We knew what to do. So we were up to 4, and then last year we actually bought our 5th location. And then earlier this year, we sold 2 of our locations. They were the furthest physically from our home, so we knew that we needed to balance our family a little bit better and balance that work life. So knowing that what we knew from our corporate background and implementing that into our small business, it was a recipe for success for us. So
it's a great story. Dr. Hicks, I wanted to come over to you to talk a little about employment and the job market. Obviously, we're in a very I don't know what the right word is, fluid job market, lots of transition coming out of COVID. That's been a benefit in some ways to franchisors seeking new franchisees in terms of franchise development, but it's also been a challenge with all this growth in terms of establishments, finding workers. But I think one of the common misperceptions we get in our area of the economy is that these are just low-paying jobs. One of the things that we did with Oxford Economics is look at wage rates and benefits in franchise versus non-franchise businesses, and found that rates of pay and benefit programs by franchisees are actually far higher than non-franchise businesses. I'd just love to let you reflect on any of that, what you've seen in some of your work over the many years. Any thoughts?
Sure. I think that it's, something that requires both parts, right? When we think about educational institutions in partnership with employers, there has to be a kind of common language, right? So being able to create industry advisory boards that inform what the curriculum looks like is really important. I think using tools like some of what you've described in terms of understanding what wages are competitive is also a requirement. What we've found on our side is, the need for addressing some of the socioeconomic barriers that our students face, right? So as we, try to address those as a college, I think it's important for employers to also think about, wages and benefits, but how can we address some of the needs that employees might be facing in terms of transportation or childcare? I attended a session a few weeks ago where one employer explained that you understand whether an employer is good to his or her employees based on how they treat someone who goes on paternal leave, right? So understanding that once that person is, bonding with their child because of a new birth or because of adoption, they're then able to return to work and have opportunities to continue moving up the ladder, right? So I think it's a kind of full circle approach. How do we understand the needs of our students, but how do we understand the needs of employees as well?
Anybody in the roundtable want to reflect on things that they're doing or things that they're seeing maybe in their with their franchisees or even at the corporate level in terms of wages, benefits, recruitment strategies that have been helpful?
Yeah, so with Crust Pizza Company, we fast casual restaurant, and one thing that it makes us a little bit different is that we actually give tips. And we really encourage our guests and those loyal customers that come back to tip our employees. So it goes to a tip pool, which you usually don't see that whenever you're at a quick service restaurant, right? So that's one thing that we have. Thing that we really noticed that can help when it comes to encouraging people to come in and work with us. And we also have an extensive training program. So they learn every aspect of the restaurant. And our whole goal, our culture is we're all equal. So no matter if it is a dishwasher, if it is someone front of house at the register, we're all a team. And without that one person, they know that we wouldn't be a complete company.
Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, certainly labor is a top challenge for a lot of businesses and certainly franchises. I love the data that came out from Friend Data published recently on the top single challenges in franchising. And we learned early on in our organization, we have 13,000 store-level co-workers, and we all likely knew this, that pay wasn't the only thing. And we've known that for years, right? So we have a voice of the coworker platform, much like the NPS scores that you get for consumers, and we talk to our coworkers in the field, and it's not just pay. Pay is certainly important. It is opportunity for advancement. It's training. They want to feel engaged with their corporation, and we really learned a lot by simply listening to our coworkers. And certainly a tough labor market out there, but it's good. It's good for employees, and certainly wages are rising and have. And our franchisees, while we don't set the pay rates of our franchisees, we share that which we pay, and they're certainly well above market in all the markets that we serve. So we're out there recruiting and trying to retain as much of our talent as possible, and it just goes well beyond pay.
That's great. Anybody else on the employment question?
Our franchisees' employees are rather peculiar in that it's a very peculiar skill set that takes a considerable amount of time to become productive in. So we encourage them to pay a premium. We believe that those that are willing to work are better workers and are deserving of the higher premium up front. And we partner with them. We provide training for all their employees at no charge. So they can send any employee that they hire to us as the ZOR, and we will train them to the same extent that their GM gets at no charge to them. So that's our offer to support them in that endeavor and get them up to speed faster and make them more productive, is the no-charge training that we offer to all the Z's employees.
Monica, I want to turn to you on the PR side. You've said that brands and individuals within the franchise economy need to use the same language to discuss, how they talk about small business. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I consider franchising a force for good in the business world, and it's growing. Matt already shared there's going to be 805,000 units in the United States. That's a good thing. Clients on our roster awarded more than 1,000 franchise agreements in 2022. That's 1,000 new small businesses opening up out there in the world. But when brands expand, when franchise networks get bigger, small brands become big brands, and big brands can become household names, which is wonderful, but it has a hurdle as well, because then you risk the perception of big brands being one giant corporation instead of a collection of small businesses. So it's so important to increase the narrative and do the storytelling from the franchisee who's running that small business, because it's an educational hurdle. We need mass media, policymakers, the public at large to understand that franchise businesses are small businesses. So our goal is to shine the spotlight on more franchise owners to share their story. Every day, all of us here drive down the street and we might pass a QSR and think, oh, there's a giant corporation. General public thinks that. But that restaurant may be owned and operated by the neighbor down your street who's creating small jobs for their local community and running a business, providing products and services to the local community. They're an integral player, and that's the epitome of small business. We need to do more of that.
Yeah, and Sherry, maybe come to you as one of the leading sectors of growth in residential commercial services. Just talk a little bit about how you all are getting that story out there and how you see that playing out in your franchise development work.
I keep getting re-hit with the importance of stories. I'm always amazed at how much our own franchisees react to their own stories, right, of their own peers. We've had incredible growth, and as our franchisees hear the stories of the people that are doing things that some other franchisees who are new or are visioning for themselves or is part of their dream, they're so encouraged by it and the power of the storytelling. I think we could always do better. I always look at it when it happens and I think, oh my gosh, we should be doing this every day. Because you just can't help but bump into all these stories. You just need to ask a question and you get a story. And I agree. I think getting out how people, connecting the American dream with what people are doing, I think as Americans, we respond to that. And so when you hear about sacrifice and you hear about hard work and you hear about making hard decisions, right? I'm going to leave corporate and I'm going to open, or I'm going to work with my family. I came from a family business. I know what that's really like. Going to hold my family together. I mean, when you make those decisions, people relate. Whether or not they want to do the same thing, they relate to the courage, they relate to the vision, they relate to the action. And I think the more we can show that McDonald's or wherever is actually owned by someone in that community and they're struggling to hire, they're struggling with supply chain, they're still struggling with all the same things, I think we will open up the possibilities of what people can choose. and then create their own story.
Chris, you guys have a great story, and it's really the definition of a family-run business. Can you just talk a little bit about that story and how it came to be? Now you have, what, 70 franchisees and 110-ish?
Yeah, so it really originated from a desire to not break up the family. We're a retail operation and trying to figure out how to scale and go that next step. And it was do our own thing in different parts of the country. There's 3 brothers and mom. So that was 4 stores with 4 different businesses and 4 new dynamics and 1 destroyed family. And that didn't really work for us. So my brother found franchising and did the legwork to create it. So it's easy for us to say we were benefits of the franchising community and environment long before we really knew the playing field. Full disclosure, I asked to be here because I'm so grateful for that. It allowed us to do that and give that back to others that join us, other families that join us. One of my favorite stories is one of our franchisees in Michigan was a general manager in the restaurant industry. As much as I love the restaurant industry, he hadn't been home. His daughter was 10 and he had not spent Christmas with her yet because he'd been at the restaurant every year. So first year as a franchisee, he's home for Christmas. So stories like that are the selfish part of why I enjoy franchising. Those are my wins, to be able to see fathers with their kids again on holidays, and those type of stories. And it's we are a family business, and as long as we maintain that, then as we become a big business, we'll always be known as that family business. So we're trying to create that identity of the local operation from the very beginning, because that was us. That's what we know. And finding things like the Open for Opportunity initiative, that's why I emailed Erica and said, I want to do this, because that's what we're doing also. So partnering with a big brother like the IFA was an easy win. So yeah, it's about keeping families together.
Thanks, Chris. A lot of these industries around the table are not often, who people think about when they think about franchising. They think about McDonald's, they think about our friends at Dunkin', and those are great businesses, and a lot of the brands around the table are, growing and striving to become, large international businesses, but always using the franchise model to do that. Jason, I wanted to come to you on the hotel side, and the hotel industry, really is a great component of the franchise economy. That another area that people don't often think about as franchised, and you guys are great partners at the American Hotel and Lodging Association with the IFA. Just talk about the role that franchisees play in that sector, and also maybe how the sector is doing coming out of the downturn.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. So most folks don't know this, but about 50% of all hotels are franchise hotels. So it's substantial, to Monica, to your point, you don't know who might own the local hotel down the street. It's not all just, the brands out there owning their own properties. So certainly the pandemic was extremely hard on our industry, as many around the table, but we are recovering, and 2023 is looking better than 2019 levels on average around the country. So we're very excited about that. But labor shortages continue to be our #1 problem, trying to get people back into the industry that may have shifted elsewhere. But just kind of focusing on Texas here for a minute, there are over about 5,200 hotels in this state alone, and so you're thinking about, half of those are franchise hotels, and actually more so here, it's 3,900. Those hotels are providing about $3 billion in projected revenues in 2023, which is going to be up about 15% to 2019 levels. So that's phenomenal, as giving back to the communities. We're supporting about 147,000 full-time jobs here. And then you're talking about the ancillary jobs, the jobs that hotels also support outside our direct ones. That's about 665,000 jobs. So, talking about the collective franchise hotels around the country contributing about $47 billion to state and local taxes and more than $7.6 billion for jobs in 2023. I mean, that's just what we expect to have at a minimum. If we can actually grow to hiring as many people that we want to, our industry is seeing explosive growth right now coming back out of the pandemic. But yeah, we're always hiring. We're always trying to bring in more folks. The franchise model has been fantastic for our industry, continues to grow, and yeah, hope to see great things in 2023 continue.
All right, thanks, Jason. I wanted to shift over to Justin from Dallas College. You have a fascinating title, Vice Chancellor of Innovation and Business Strategy. Obviously, the last few years have been challenging for small business, but Dallas is clearly prospering today. How can we ensure that franchise businesses stay competitive in Dallas, and what are some things that the college is doing to support the small business community?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really is important to Dallas College and is getting at the table with people who own these franchises and businesses and really understanding what you need out of your talent that you're hiring. We can assume a lot of things and do a lot of things, but the only way to really truly grasp what is needed from your employees and your talent that you're hiring is to talk to you. So I think from our standpoint, you know, to give you a little background on me, I started a small business in 2015 in oil and gas. If you remember 2015, that wasn't a great year to be a business owner in oil and gas. But the important thing for me at that point is I knew that if I could weather that storm, that there would be customers on the back end when we're ready to go. And so what we did when we started was we spent a lot of time training employees, getting them up to speed, making sure that when the economy was coming back in oil and gas, that we had employees who were going to be the best in the business because we took the time to really impact them early on. And I think that's where we saw the most benefit in our business, was just making sure that once we had the economy back in our favor, that our employees were truly engaged, truly knowledgeable, and, you know, really ready to go.
Thanks for that. I think when I think about what our members need, you know, it's really two things. They need leads, people who are potentially interested in becoming franchise owners, and the franchisees, you know, they need able bodies. They can be trained, right? I mean, that's the thing. That's a common refrain, I think, throughout the franchise economy, irrespective of the sector they're in, whether they're, you know, personal services, residential services, restaurants, B2B services. You know, that's the beautiful thing about, you know, owning, you know, a franchise business is you will get the training, you know, on the job. So I don't know if others want to reflect on that with some specifics, either at the brand level in terms of developing training systems, or, you know, franchisees from deploying that. But that's what I hear across the franchise economy in my discussions with our members, and I think we saw that reflected in, Mike, you mentioned the FranData labor survey. It's the availability of labor and the quality of labor that are the two things that, at least at the franchisee level, is most critical right now.
And I think it's important. It's an opportunity for all of us to invest in training. It's what the coworkers are looking for, right? Sometimes people hop jobs in lower wage industries, but perhaps that's an opportunity for us to take a look within and say, what are we doing to provide advancement opportunities for these coworkers? It's not just the pay, and the training is huge. It's one of the single things that they're looking for. In our organization, we have the benefit of having a larger organization with a robust training platform and department. We have what we call RAC University, with the goal of a college for every coworker and a coworker in every college, so they can see the opportunity rising up through the ranks. We're beneficial that our CEO and several of our top executives in the corporation started out at the store level years ago, and for coworkers to see that as an opportunity, rather than, it's nice to have MBAs from Cornell, and we have those too in the organization, but seeing people who came the same path as me as an opportunity through training and development is really inspiring for coworkers, and we're finding that we're getting a lot of bang for our buck in investing in training.
That's a great story. Another good story we need to tell. This is part of OFO, a lot of these employee to owner type of stories. We know they're out there, and it's about allowing people, we like to say, you can't be it unless you can see it, somebody that comes from their background. So that's really great. Shane, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to add, we talk about culture all the time, and culture is what culture does, right? And I think we're a family business as well, still family owned and held, and that does allow us to kind of keep that culture really aligned with the family values. So about 2 years ago now, I stepped away from operating the company I founded and still own, and hired an amazing CEO who I knew was a great culture fit for our brand. And we've sort of reestablished the vision and values, just tightened them up a little bit, but created this culture of care program. And it's, it starts at HQ, but goes, right down to the team members and frontline employees. And I think, that said, how we bring our franchisees into the system and really aligning with our vision and our purpose and the values is super important, and that really does permeate throughout the location by individual location. And so, to me, that is key in recruitment, is how we act at the store level and how our franchisees treat their team members at the store level. And I think there has to be more focus on that. So we're doing a lot of training with our franchisees on that, and creating more rewards and awards around good culture in each of the individual locations, and awards being given out for great internal scores, right, and how people feel. So I think wanting to try to keep the family, and also really promoting the local aspect of the business, and that it is a small family business, because again, I think there's a lot of team members out there that think, oh, this is a big conglomerate, this is, it's very corporate-y or what have you. And so, and this is obviously the IFA's mission, is how do we really keep these local businesses local, support them as franchisors to help them be better, but promote the local stories around those franchisees, because I think that's where today's, especially a younger generation, they really want to feel like there's part of something bigger, but also with that very personal feel. And so that's our culture of care.
Dr. Hicks, is that something that you see either in research you've done or in your work with younger workforce today? Anything you can share on that?
Yeah, I think culture is really important. And as we think about our students, I think something that stands out to us is, as you mentioned, Shane, exposure, right? So having opportunities via internships or apprenticeships is a great way for our students to have that exposure. But I think what I'm finding too is, in terms of the students that we serve at Dallas College, there's a large amount of our students who are Latinx and Black. But when they go into these spaces where they don't see people who look like them, they become discouraged, and they don't know if that's the space for them. So I think that, that culture of care resonates with me, because it does have the tone of, welcoming very diverse groups of people. But I think that we're trying to find, spaces where our students feel comfortable in growing and starting from the bottom, as I've heard across the board, to be able to move up the ladder.
Other thoughts on culture and employees?
I think all of us at this table would argue that we're all in the relationship business to some degree or another, regardless of the widget we use to translate that. I think it's a common thread amongst the successful ones, is there's an emphasis on the relationship and the people involved first. Even the widget is always right behind, and the profits and the KPIs and all that jazz is always there for all business. But when the relationships are elevated beyond that in actual action, I think that's when people will tell your story on behalf of you. And that's what we're angling for, is to have others be our ambassadors that want to do it, not that we ask to do it. And I think that's a common thread among successful businesses and franchises in general, is the storytelling, as critical as it is when others want to tell it for you, that you don't have to pay for it. And it's relationships and people actually valuing the truth of the relationship, not the angle that so many try and pursue.
I want to switch gears, bring it back to Texas and the business environment here. Obviously, seems conducive to franchise development, obviously growing population, but just to throw it out for anybody, what is Texas doing right in terms of franchising and the business economy, and what do we need to see in more states that may be making it harder for our members to grow?
There. I think Texas does a lot of things right. It is certainly a pro-business state, so business owners who are going to invest here feel confident that the government agencies are going to have their back as entrepreneurs. We're very proud to call Texas our home. We're headquartered 20 miles up the road in Plano, Texas, and we have locations here, 217 stores, 35 of which are franchised. The rest we own as a corporation. Both we and our franchisees are both growing here in Texas because people are moving here, the climate is good, and there's a feeling of growth within the state. And our franchisees and us collectively, we're doing $217 million in revenues here just in Texas. Proud to pay taxes and support the local communities that we're here. And while we do business in every state in the country, Texas is just doing so many things right.
I was going to say, this doesn't necessarily, it's not directly related to franchising, but there is a new bill on the table that is going to affect the massage therapy industry specifically, and licensing, which makes business harder, right? So it's already difficult for us to hire and recruit therapists, and I know a lot of other industries are the same, service-based industries. And of course, we want tight parameters and want really good people, obviously, going through the licensing process. But Texas always has been a business-friendly state. But I think there are a few things that are coming up that may make it a little more difficult in our industry specifically, when the challenge is already there for hiring. And quite frankly, our average unit volumes are about 1.2 million in the U.S. and we would be at 2 million if we could hire 10 more massage therapists at every single location. So I think that anything that can help the small business owners continue to grow their businesses, easy, obviously, with parameters in place for who we hire as it pertains to something so personal, but not making that so challenging.
One of the things that we've been doing as part of OFO is, not just storytelling, but really highlighting the work that franchising does to give back. Our foundation launched a program called Franchising Gives Back about 10 years ago now, and one of the pieces of research in the Oxford report really highlights how much franchisees do to support their local communities. Maybe Sean, if I could turn to you to talk about, from a franchisee perspective, work that you all do, and then open it up to others that wanted to highlight some of the ways that franchising gives back or support some of the PR efforts and recruitment efforts.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about having a small business in the small communities that we have around the Dallas area, is that we are able to give back. We partner and we sponsor with our girls' school Another thing that Matt and I had discussed earlier is, during the pandemic, we had the fortunate capability of making face shields. We donated, I think, around 10,000 face shields to the Dallas Police Department to help with the safety factor during that time. And also, my husband grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, and their hospitals needed some face shields, and we had the equipment and we had the material, and we were more than happy to be able to provide that to them. And down to being on committees with our local chamber, we're able to participate and just drive that business and help others around our community. And it even goes down to providing jobs for people that they're sending their kids to school, or they're saving for a home, or whatever it is. We're able, between our 3 stores, we have around 20 employees, and so we make an impact for them, and they in turn contribute to their communities. So it's great being able to be part of a bigger industry, but also that smaller footprint where you can make a difference.
Other brands or
Yeah, I want to weigh in on
Monica?
that because in the PR world, it's not always just about business, but it's about the ways that these companies give back to the communities that they're in. So many examples I can't even begin to tell you, given, food-related businesses that participate with food banks. Every single business that we supported through the pandemic wasn't just concerned on keeping the doors open, but how do they help the communities that have supported them from the time that they've opened. So it's just very, very powerful. The way that you pivoted, I remember that story about the face shields for the police officers. Restoration One, that's an essential business. They had more than enough work. We had Winter Storm Uri, the single biggest catastrophic loss in the state of Texas. But they also did a cleaning program during COVID, and that was to support people that had to go out there and work in a time of concern and know that they were doing it in a safe environment. So, yeah, that's kind of the warm fuzzy of this industry as well. To a T, franchisors and franchisees are always looking for a way to give back to the communities that support them being in business.
Thanks, Monica. Sherry, anything from any of your brands you wanted to highlight?
It's so interesting to me at how early a new franchisee starts to give back, very humbly to their community. And to your point, in our business, we do dirty work, like really hard, dirty work. And the heart of the people, especially during COVID, to your point, it was really incredibly humbling to be thinking about emergency workers when they themselves were being dispatched to homes to fix toilets and plumbing, right? When people still needed plumbers, people still needed water pipes were still busting. And they were thinking about that, and they were thinking about their employees. I think, so what I see across all of our franchisees is the diversity of what they choose to do locally. And I've seen it fail miserably when it's top down. Like, guess what, everybody? We're doing, this. And when you work with franchisees, that's not how it goes. Everybody doesn't jump up and go, yay, and go in that direction. But when you leave it alone, and you model it as a franchisor, but you leave it alone locally, the most incredible things happen, and a lot of things you'll never see. And I think that's where it's the most humbling, whether it's helping our vets. We've got some franchisees that are very involved in veteran affairs, working with students and schools in their local communities, hoping to seed people and interest in, to hospitals, to the big things that you hear about. So I think the giving back is both public and private. It's early, and it's when they're established. It happens all the time, and it's because they are part of the local community, and they are grateful to that community.
Well, and so much of that learning happens franchisee to franchisee
Very
versus
much so.
top down. Especially we see it with new franchisees entering the system, and always encouraging franchisees to talk to franchisees before they enter systems to learn, how are you growing, and building relationships in your community? And a lot of it's through those types of, relationships that may have even existed before they were business owners. Just on, franchisee recruitment, we do have this event later today focused on the Hispanic Latino community over in Fort Worth, but we do see such a strong push by both the brands recruiting minority franchisees, and some of the data shows how well they perform in the franchise business. But we also see a really strong recruitment in the veteran space. We've had a program for almost 50 years now called VetFran, and have 600 member brands that offer discounts off initial franchise fees and financing incentives for veterans. And veterans tend to do very well in the franchise model because of the structure translates quite well coming out of the military. But we also see, franchise development coming from corporate refugees. Would love, particularly maybe Amber as an emerging brand. What are you guys seeing in terms of your marketing and how you're getting franchisees interested in the system, and then happy to open it up to others who are seeing things that they want to highlight.
Yeah, how much time do we have?
We have about 10 more minutes.
Right. So marketing and communications, whenever, especially if it's a new business owner, they kind of get overwhelmed with it. They're like, okay, they're gung-ho, I got to have a new business, but where do I begin? Where do I get that brand awareness? So we have an extensive process, my marketing team, and we start from the beginning, even before the construction starts. I have one-on-one meetings with that franchisee. We talk about the importance of brand awareness. We talk about the importance of giving back, like we all just discussed. And we have these tools that we pretty much hold their hand and teach them if they don't know the marketing world. Marketing is such a big word. I love it. Some people are intimidated by it, but the importance of a franchisor teaching a franchisee on how to market your business is huge. And we do multiple different things, not just on corporate level. We have a bunch of corporate promotions, but we have a lot of local store marketing promotions too to help that certain business as well. And a lot of our franchisees, they are local. They known in the community. So our first goal with them, especially if it's a small community, we like to give back with the first responders. We teach them how to do that community outreach with them. Chamber of Commerce, just getting involved, getting in that community so they can make the brand awareness happen also, and give back too in the end. So there's a lot of tools that our company gives our franchisees, and we don't just stop in the middle of it. After that 90 days of them being open, we continue with quarterly meetings discussing what's working. Let's look at your sales, look at your labor, your cost of goods, all of that. Where can we see on the menu items what's not working for you guys? And we collaborate together and come up with a great plan to help that local store marketing efforts as well.
Yeah, Michael, please.
I think Monica made the comment of that franchising is a net good, it's overall good, and I couldn't agree more. It's what franchising can do for advancement of opportunity, of entrepreneurship. Within Rent-A-Center's minority ownership, ours happened organically. We didn't have any unique programs, right? We were open to business for all and look for the best candidates. Today we have 72% of our franchise stores, 440, are owned by minority business owners. And at our recent conference in Las Vegas, we have store managers, district managers, regional managers, and our franchisees. And just to see the looks on the faces of the coworkers who are trying to rise up in the ranks to see the minority ownership in the room. It's remarkable how inspired they are. I think Dr. Hicks mentioned seeing people like me. And we've had a great opportunity just to have some excellent diversity in our group, and we've done very, very well with it, and we're very proud.
Any others? Monica?
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I think that the motto of franchising itself speaks to why there's such a plethora of prospects coming from very different backgrounds, which is to be in business for yourself but not by yourself. So whether you're a corporate refugee, whether you're a minority, whether you're fresh out of college, whatever the case may be, they see a leg up in the franchise model, which is driving a lot of the interest. We had, the Great Resignation that this country went through. Yes, there's a labor shortage for hiring within businesses, but part of that Great Resignation is people are, I want to be in charge of my future. And so that is leading to franchise development at record levels, which you've already shared. People want to be in control, but they don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. They want to follow a proven system, and franchisors that offer a proven system are successfully growing their networks.
Very well said. We love that slogan, going into business for yourself, but not by yourself. At the IFA, many of our members use that extensively. Maybe just to wrap up, from a Dallas College perspective, thinking about upskilling, where do you see, you've heard this conversation over the last hour, franchising fitting into that? We often aren't thought of as a category, in business schools or even in undergraduate programs, but, it is such a big and dynamic part of the overall economy. So any thoughts from either of you in that regard?
Yeah, I think what's really important for us is, well, in order to help small businesses, we try to lift as many burdens as we can from that small business, franchises included. Now, this can be anywhere from understanding and getting employees trained to utilizing different grants and funding to be able to put people in positions at the cost of the grant versus the cost of the small business. And so I think just working in collaboration with any type of small business owner where we can really understand, what's needed, and then also utilizing the talent that comes through. I'm very interested to hear about VetFriend because Dallas College has a enormous veteran community that could definitely utilize, more information on things like that. But I think really just getting at the table early on and understanding all the different aspects that are needed, that's where Dallas College can be beneficial to small business owners.
Great. Debunking some of the myths that are out there about, the cost of starting certain types of franchises, especially those that may not be retail or hospitality oriented with extensive costs. But some of the service-based businesses where we're seeing the most growth really are lower entry points and great financing programs available. Dr. Hicks, did you want to add something?
I agree with Justin 100%. I think that's a great perspective. I think too, thinking about the match between the relationship between the student and the franchise, I think is really important. Often we're focused on skills and what skills a student might have or whether they're ready to enter that space, right? But I think there has to be some kind of like dating that happens, right? Is this actually something that I want to do? And I don't think we ask that question enough, right? It's like, just do it because there's an opportunity, but is that opportunity something that could be long lasting, right? So I think the match needs to be both on the franchisor and the franchisee and the student as well.
It's probably the most critical thing for any franchisor is making sure that they select the right franchisee, and for the franchisees, going through that, we call it due diligence process. It is, a 10-year or longer relationship, and making sure that you find that right partner is critical. Well, just to close this out here, I wanted to maybe go around, see if everybody wanted to offer just a closing comment or thought, and maybe I'll start down at that end.
Yeah, I think this has been really enlightening for me. I come from a corporate background. I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world. I've also been a small business owner. And understand what that's like. I've not had a franchise, but I think it energizes me to hear stories like this where people are working on family businesses and growing them and expanding them and giving opportunities to people that may not necessarily have a chance to start a small business in a different way. But for Dallas College, exposure to our students is very important. I think a lot of our students don't necessarily get as much exposure to different opportunities as a lot of other people, but bringing franchising opportunities to our students and our network, these are things that can really change the course of someone's opportunity and someone's career.
Amber?
Yeah, so I think the main thing, even that I learned at IFA convention in Vegas, is culture. In the culture of not just each one of our companies, but IFA as a whole is about helping each other, being a team. And so I think a lot of people think about when they see franchising, they're like, oh, it's just another big business. But they don't realize how, if you divvy it down, it's a small family that's trying to make a living. So one thing that I learned a lot from just everyone talking about this is that we all have that same common goal, and that's to bring business to local families and to local communities, which I think is great.
I'm going into my 19th year here in franchising, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that franchising does. There's a community of mentors. When I first came into this industry in 2004, 2005, going to IFA conferences, the amount of knowledge I got from other franchisors was extraordinary. It was just amazing to see. And while today I'm with a larger organization, I'm really proud not just of what we're doing in our franchise group with supporting our 440 franchise stores, but really the work of some of the smaller franchisors that are coming up, the lower investment opportunity franchisors, which are doing a great job out there, some of these home-based service franchisors. So kudos to all of us for all we do. Appreciate the IFA keeping us focused and helping us to improve the business model, which is already extraordinary. It's just great work that we all do, and I wake up every morning jumping out of the bed, really excited about what we do, and it's really exciting. And thank you all.
Thanks, Mike.
I recently had a Canadian vendor say that he loved doing business in the United States because we approach business like a big team, like we do it like a sport. And that's why I love business in general. And I think why I have a passion for franchising, because it takes work to realize your dreams, your American dream. This is uniquely American. And everyone pitching in together to figure it out, to spread the word, solutions are found out of people needing to find a solution, not because they want to. So challenges in training or recruitment or anything, they're found locally. And when you get to pull it up through the franchise network, and then the franchise network is a community, what a great sport is that? So I think the IFA does an important work. I think franchising is an important work, and I think local communities are healthier because of it.
Well said. Shane?
I would just say we are blessed in Texas for sure. Definitely a great state to do business in as a franchisor, as a franchisee as well. I wish the attitude that we had here in Texas was the same in some other states, quite frankly. I always say that when we go to the Hill, and if anyone has not been to the Hill and lobbied at the annual fly-in, you absolutely should do it and encourage your franchisees to do it, or if you're a franchisee, do it. It makes a difference. And while we're very blessed here in Texas, and our political leaders are friendly, not every state is. So hopefully we'll see more of that. But the International Franchise Association has done so much for all of us. I would say, especially during the heart of COVID and everything that you guys did on the Hill, that was helpful to all of our organizations from bottom up, top down, has been a blessing to so many of us. And I'm not sure how well we all would have come out of that without the International Franchise Association. So appreciative for everything that you guys have done and continue to do. And it is all of our jobs to make franchising a better model all the way around and protect what we have here, because it's special. And it's special that we're able to have this community that you talk about that supports one another. at the franchisor level, but for our franchisees to have that within their networks as well, and we want to protect that. So thank you guys for doing what you do.
Just some final thoughts on my end. I've been a franchisee for 11 years, and before that, being in the franchisor world, that I'm so grateful that I didn't have to have that hurdle, of, oh my gosh, what is all about being a franchise and a franchisee. But, commenting on what Sherry said is that you've got your team, you've got your inside your four walls team, and then you've got your franchisor team, and then you've got an entire network of other owners and other employees that you can reach out for questions or solutions or solving problems. And then beyond that, you've even got your group of vendors that you can rely on. So it's a huge network, it's a huge team, and there's a ton of people to rely on and to just lean on to propel your business forward. So it's a great opportunity in franchising. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Franchising's fun. It's infinitely scalable on every level, from the individual franchisee and your network and team to the franchisors, our networks and team, the vendors, the suppliers, organizational institutions like the IFA that help guide and keep us all together. Being a family business and leveraging towards that and trying to keep that front and center. I've got roughly 30-some new family members. Nice to meet y'all. Thanks for joining. So getting to do that every time, and every time someone else comes into the office and they get that same response of, wow, I felt welcomed here, this is fun, you guys enjoy this. From our team members more so than myself, because they greet them first. That's rewarding. So selfishly, it's fun, I enjoy it. Giving back, participating in this also has benefits to the brand as well, so that being able to find the answer where all the rising tide lifts all boats, truly, and not leaving any of them behind, is fun every time. And seeing those wins for all parties at all levels, it's wins every day. It's easy to keep going.
I guess my final remark would be, I'm eternally optimistic, and I think the American dream is alive and well in franchising, as was shared here today from all of you. And, this is a business model that has persevered for decades regarding, weathering global unrest, economic swings. I mean, franchising is still standing and going strong, and I'm eternally optimistic for the road ahead. So that's my parting word.
Yeah, this has really been eye-opening for me. I think I had some expectation before I came here, and it's exceeded my expectations completely. I think when we think about our students, I'm a former teacher. I taught for many years before I went to the administrative side, and knowing, who we serve, primarily our students are our focus no matter where we are across Dallas College. This has given us some homework to go back and think about how we can think about, franchising in relation to our small business programs, and how we can better serve our students who, when I think about them in the classroom, some students have no idea what they want to do, but they have the drive, they have the ambition, they're excited about life. I think this is an opportunity that could serve those particular students. And I loved what Michael said about, what he's doing within his space, and, that it was kind of a natural, rise to the top for some of the people of color in his organization. I think that's a great testimony, and it's something that we can share with our students who don't understand that there are opportunities for them.
I'll just say in closing, the lodging industry is so highly dependent on franchising. Of our 56,000 properties across the whole country, 33,000 are small businesses, and the majority of those are all franchise businesses, specifically because there's so much assistance there. And starting up a hotel, which is a monumental task, but we're always accepting new franchisees. But the franchise model is fantastic. Our partnership at HLA with IFA is fantastic, and we just really appreciate it.
Well, thanks everybody. Just a couple closing remarks. I did want to acknowledge Ursa Jackson, who is over there along the side. Ursa is the chair of the IFA's Diversity Institute and serves on our board of directors as well. I think she's done amazing, amazing work helping us build programs and really make sure that as part of this Open for Opportunity Roadshow, that we are extending the relationships in these communities where we visit. I think about one of our recent stops in the state of Maryland and partnerships with the Black Chamber there, building off of that with some programming and webinars, helping our members extend franchise development opportunities to their audience and over a series of events and similar partnerships with academics and academic institutions in Georgia as another example of one of our roadshow stops last year at Georgia State University and some HBCUs down there. Monica, I just wanted to acknowledge a word that you said in a different vein. The business model, it's incredibly resilient. And I think, that's something that helps us insulate ourselves against some of the broader macroeconomic factors that non-franchise small businesses may be facing, whether it's labor challenges or the supply chain and inflation. So not that we're not immune to them, but I think that collective support that franchisors and franchisees work together. And then everybody in franchising is kind of a teacher in certain ways. Because we're teaching people how to become business owners themselves, and there's such a common refrain across the sector and a willingness to share, even amongst some of the strongest competitors for customers and others. So it's a rewarding industry to represent, and I want to thank everybody for being here and spending their morning with us today. And again, this is just the beginning of helping us continue to educate and tell that story because, as Shane alluded to, government is playing an increasingly strong role in really every industry, and franchising is no exception. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being here this morning and look forward to some one-on-one conversations if folks want to hang out for a little bit afterwards. So thank you.